According to my shirt, it says Senior Outreach Services. So am I in the right place? Good, good. We are broadcasting live, and there's about 8 of us here at the Holiday Park Senior Center, which is in Silver Spring, Maryland. We're thrilled to be here today for talking about fire safety in our homes and what's new in our homes and what's new in terms of fire safety. Many of you have probably heard some talks before from fire safety experts or other safety kind of people about what we want to do to help keep ourselves safe in our homes. But there's a lot of new science out there. There's a lot of new methods that we're doing to not only keep people safe by preventing fires in the first place, but heaven forbid there is a fire, how the fire department responds and what we do to help people in those situations. The first thing I'll go back and tell you guys is the safest situation for a fire is a fire that never happens. So after we run through this PowerPoint, I've got some things here to demonstrate a couple of things, some practical things that you and I can do inside our homes to help keep us safe. I want to thank, before we get started into this too much, Miss Sam Wu, who is with us today. Yeah, those of us in the room can give her a hand. Sam is the one who put this all together, working with her friends in AARP. There's a whole list of names. I know that Eleanor right now is behind the scenes making sure that this program runs well. I want to thank Eleanor and the other folks from AARP for putting this together and making this happen, and hopefully we'll reach a large audience. Most of what I'm going to talk about is relative to Montgomery County, Maryland, the state of Maryland overall. But if people somehow or other are watching this from other locations, some of the information might not be quite the same for your fire codes and your building codes in your community. So, of course, consult with your local people. But I'll say that Montgomery County, Maryland, and Maryland overall, we kind of set the bar when it comes to fire safety, not just for older adults like me and the rest of us here, but for everyone. Montgomery County is very, very forward thinking in terms of fire sprinklers, smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms, and other things like that. So let's get started. What do you say? All right.
Should I say a couple words?
If you'd like to say a couple of words, come on up here. Why don't you stand behind the podium and you can watch your step here. Watch your step. And Sam, you're looking right there.
Look at that.
Yeah, look at that little red dot.
Okay.
The red dot that's right there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank Jim to help me per my request. And thanks to AARP that helped me to donate some stuff to give out and support to put into the Zoom. And the reason I want to have this class because I saw our senior had not been understand much about how to prevent fire. They wait until fire happen and then call 911. And some people have a fire extinguisher at home. When the fire came, they don't know how to use it. So, and some has a fire extinguisher, but they spray to themselves instead of put that because they never practice. They saw that they have that machine stuff at home is safe. No. And I went to class to took my Cambodian people to gym and he showed me. So I woke up a lot. Even I learned myself and my group of 20 people or so. And our senior group wanted me to arrange this class for a long time, but since pandemic, everything closed. And unfortunately, some of our senior has passed away in the past year, include my late husband. So this class, I salute and give the blessing to the memory of our seniors who work hard to help others to stay safe. And also, thanks so much for my friend who came here today to learn, and they can spread the word to others to come more. Now they're still afraid to come in person, so it will come. A lot of people will come more. So thanks again to MCHD.
Don't go away for a second. Before we take the camera away from Sam, I want you all to see the shirt that she is wearing. No, you.
Oh,
We're gonna look at you. So she is proudly wearing her Maryland AARP T-shirt. So I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. So thank you. Watch your step as you come back around. Thank you for the kind words, Sam. All right, so let's dive into our program here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to stray a little bit from what I thought I was going to do with the program. I'm going to show you guys a brief video to start things out, just to kind of set the tone for why everything else that we're going to do today is so important. I'm going to explain a little bit about this video that we're going to watch before I turn on the video. The video that we're going to see will last 1 minute and 20 seconds. That's it, just 1 minute and 20 seconds. We know already that we're going to see a video of a fire, a real fire that happened in someone's home. The people who are in this video do not know that there's a fire that's about to happen. So we're expecting that people are going to react in certain ways and do certain things, but in real life, these people don't know what's coming. So their reactions and what they're doing is very, very pure. It's what many people would do in a situation. And that's exactly what Sam was just talking about. A lot of folks haven't thought ahead to say, if a fire were to occur, what am I going to do? I'm going to give you a couple of spoilers. Nobody got hurt. Nobody died. Everybody got out of the house safely. Okay. I'm going to set up the scene a little bit also. What you're going to see is a video that was taken at a home near Denver, Colorado, almost 2 years ago, a little bit less than 2 years ago. Hold on one second. Hey, Eleanor. I know you're muted, Eleanor, but the little video on the right side of the 3 is the one I'd like to show. There we go. And I'm going to stop it for right now. So the gentleman who you see sitting in the chair over towards the right side of the screen, and actually one other thing, Eleanor, can we make the chat area go away so the screen is bigger? Are you able to do that for me, please? So the gentleman who's sitting in the chair there on the right-hand side wearing a blue shirt, it is his 85th birthday. He does not live in this house. He's over at his son's house to celebrate his birthday. He is in the house with 9 other family members. There's 10 people who have come over to this house for a birthday celebration. They're having lunch or dinner or something like that. If you look closely, you might be able to see on his lap, there's a tray and then there's a bowl of some kind of food there on his lap. So what they did was the family members got him comfortable in that chair and set up with his lunch. They're in the kitchen and they're getting their food. And then everyone else is going to come into this room. This is the den. And they're all going to be together in the den. Now, this gentleman who's 85 years old, you can tell he has some physical challenges. We can tell that because we see he's got a walker in front of him. Okay. He also has, at the time of this fire, he has some cognitive issues. He had recently been diagnosed as having some level of dementia, and that comes into play. The physical challenges that he has as an older adult and the cognitive, how he's going to react and things like this, all come into play in just a couple of moments. In order to get him and his walker into this room, they had to move some furniture around. There had been a little coffee table that was in front of that couch, but in order that he could get into the room with his walker, someone went in and took that coffee table and moved it to the side. For those of us in the room here, I'm going to say they moved it over to that side, over near the window to the left side of the screen. Now, what they didn't realize, whoever slid that table over did not realize there was a candle on that table. A candle with a tiny little flame on it, but a candle. And that candle and the curtains that are over on the left side of the screen, that's what's going to show us what happened. I'll ask in the back, can you shut all the lights off for a moment? Just stand up for a moment, please, and shut off those lights. And the next one's over. Yeah. So we're going to watch 1 minute and 20 seconds of what happens at a home in Colorado. So he's eating his lunch. You can see the flames now at the top of the curtain.
Oh, yeah.
And smoke is coming across the ceiling. And he's looking up.
Fire! 911! Fire! Come on, Lori. Oh my God!
No, well,
It's the camera. It's the camera. Come on. Come on, Lori.
let me have this.
No, no, no. No, 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 no. Oh, shit. Get him out. Here, with the walker. Where's Walker? Walker, Walker. It's the candle on the...
What the hell happened?
You have him. Get in there. Let me have it. Go. Why is it pink? Get the pin out.
Bucket of water. Here, give me that.
Doesn't work. The pin is not coming out.
That was 1 minute and 20 seconds. That's all that was 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Almost consumed the room.
Almost consumed the room. So let's talk about what happened there. The first thing is, and I want you to remember, everybody got out safely. No one was injured. No one died. So the first thing is that we would hope that if someone was awake in that room and they look over and they see smoke and then they see fire, that they would yell, "Help, there's a fire in this room. Get me out of here." He did not do that. He was just kind of watching what was going on. So when I talked about the cognitive issues, the memory issues, what I should do, some older people, even some younger people, might not react the way that they should or the way that we would hope. So that comes into play in this. Now, the woman walks into the room and she sees the fire and she yells instinctively, she yells, "Fire, 911." Another family member hearing that just instinctively picked up their cell phone and dialed 911. That other family member gave all the correct information. They gave the address of the house. They said that there was a fire in the den of the house, that no one was injured and everybody was exiting the house. She said exactly the right things to the 911 operator. The nearest fire station is less than a mile away from that house. The nearest fire station is 9/10 of a mile away from this house. The firefighters from that station responded immediately. The fire engine, the first fire engine, was in front of this house, and they were taking hoses off the truck to put out the fire within 5 minutes of when that 911 call came in. That's pretty good. Okay, that's very good. The house basically burned to the ground. You saw 1 minute and 20 seconds, and you saw a fire go from a little candle that's this big to now most of that room is starting to catch on fire. The fire is going to spread. It's going to go wherever it wants to go, and it's going to go quickly. Now, I don't know if you all noticed, towards the end of that video, there was some people yelling things back and forth. The first thing is a woman is saying something about it doesn't work, the pin is not coming out. What are they talking about?
I think the fire
A fire extinguisher, okay? For those of us here in the room, who here has a fire extinguisher in their home? So almost everybody in this room right now says they've got a fire extinguisher in their home. When did you ever practice with using a fire extinguisher? Anybody?
No.
Everyone in this room is shaking their head no.
Long time ago.
Okay, who said a long time ago? Can I ask where it was that you practiced? Did you work in a laboratory or a factory or someplace like that?
No, I work with the school system, and then that was practicing with the community and the students.
So you worked for the school system, and through your work, you had practiced with a fire extinguisher. Okay, that's it. And do you remember?
I actually have not used the little ones that we have in our home, but I have used one in a professional thing at work when we had a fire in the microwave. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Had you practiced before you
No,
used
it
that?
worked fine. We just grabbed the one in the hallway. We had one in the hallway.
Gotcha.
Grabbed it. It worked.
All right. And so one of the people here in the room is describing a work situation in which she used a fire extinguisher because of a fire in a microwave oven. Okay. And that she's saying that it worked okay then. Here's my point with this. Most of us have never, except for maybe going to the hardware store and buying a fire extinguisher, that's probably the only time we've touched it. Okay. Unless you know what you're doing with these things, you can get into big trouble. And in this situation, with basically 10 people in this house, nobody had ever used a fire extinguisher, and that's not uncommon. The time to learn how to use a fire extinguisher is not when there's a fire. The next thing is the point at which they were talking about using the fire extinguisher, that fire was already too big. There was too much fire at that point in time for one of the typical home fire extinguishers that we might have. So when she said it doesn't work, the next thing is you hear a guy yelling, "Bucket of water, go get a bucket of water." All right. So let's pretend that this is our home right now. And I say to you guys, go get a bucket of water, fill it up with water, and come back here to put out that fire. How long is it going to take for you to find a trash can, a pot, or something like that that's big enough? Then go to the kitchen, the bathroom, outside to the house, wherever it is that you're going to get the water, and then carry that water back to where this is. How long is that going to take?
At least 10
Minute, 2 minutes. We saw what a fire did in 1 minute and 20 seconds. And it's only going to grow exponentially. It's too late. Okay. So ultimately, what the people in this home did, which is what I want all of us to do, is get out. Just 2 words. Get out. Get outside of the house. That's what your entire effort should be on. Get out of the house. Call 911 from a safe location. Get out. The consequences of things going wrong are too great. People being burned, people being overcome with smoke. I was just at a meeting yesterday and spoke to my friend Brian Geraci, who is the Maryland State Fire Marshal. And he was lamenting on the fact that we've had a huge number of fire deaths in the state of Maryland so far this year. Like we're heading towards record territory. And just day before yesterday, on Saturday, on the eastern shore of Maryland, in Hurlock, Maryland, there's a 74-year-old gentleman who died as a result of a fire in his house. He was found unconscious from smoke inhalation in the bathroom with a pan of water. He was going to try to put the fire out. and the smoke has so much poison in it, between the carbon monoxide, the hydrogen cyanide, all these terrible, terrible chemicals. That's what killed this man. Had he simply gotten out, he would probably still be alive today. So that's our message for that. That being said, I'm going to dive, that kind of sets the tone for what it is that we're going to be doing. I'm trying to get to my PowerPoint now, to slide number 1. If we can put that up, perfect. Thank you very much. So that's us. What today's all about, it's 2022, and the fire service now fights fires with more than just water. We use science, we use data, we use technology. Now, if all of those things fail, we're still going to use water. Okay. So, but we have other ways to try to fight fires ahead of time. There's a really good book. I don't know if you guys ever have read this book before. The book is called Everything I Ever Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Okay. The book came out, I believe, in the 1990s. It was very, very popular. It spent a long time on the bestsellers lists and so on. And it's a book we should all read again. And all over the world, people should read this. So what did we learn when we were back in kindergarten? I learned to treat everybody with kindness. That's one of the lessons that they taught us when we were in kindergarten. You probably had the same lessons too. A nap in the afternoon is a really good thing. Okay. I still try to take one whenever I can. So some really important things that we learn in kindergarten. But I also learned these other things. Don't play with matches or with fire. Neatness counts. Now, what does that have to do with fire safety? Because a cluttered home is more likely to have a fire. And if there is clutter and things aren't neat, it's going to be more difficult for me to get out of the house. I learned to have a fire escape plan that I've practiced. Did we ever do that in kindergarten? Sure we did. We're sitting in class and then they'd pull the fire alarm. And what did we do? Did everyone like run in 10 different directions? No, we quietly went over, we lined up. The teacher then checked outside, opened the door, made sure it was safe for us to go out. We walked, we didn't run, we walked in a line. And where did we go? Did we just go wherever we wanted outside? No, we went to a specific meeting place. So Mrs. Gilson, who was my kindergarten teacher, our class would go to a certain part of the blacktop or by the big tree or wherever it happened to be. And then when we got there, what did we always do? Did a count. We did attendance to make sure that everyone had gotten out and everyone was safe. Everything I ever needed to know, I learned in kindergarten. Okay. Now, I didn't learn this in kindergarten, but I'm going to pretend that I did. The importance of having working smoke alarms on every level of our home, not just outside the bedrooms, but inside the bedrooms too. That can save lives. So that's what I learned in kindergarten, and I'm hoping that you guys remember at least some of those messages. Fire safety science is a big deal, and we're doing a lot of really good stuff with some really great partners around here. Here in Maryland, we work with the Maryland Fire Rescue Institute, which is that yellow symbol that you see all the way on the left. That is part of the University of Maryland, but it's a science-based organization that's teaching firefighters, the next generation of firefighters, what to do to fight the more dangerous fires that we see today. The NFPA that you see in the middle is the National Fire Protection Association. For those of us that are here in the room right now, if you look over the top of that door up by the ceiling, what do you guys see?
Exit.
An exit sign, a lighted exit sign, okay? That door and every one of the doors that we have in this building has a little tag on it, which talks about the fire rating of that particular door. the furnishings that we have in this room. If you look underneath your chairs, and I don't need you to lift up the chairs right now and look, but there's a tag underneath your chair that says that the chair meets certain standards in terms of not being flammable. All of these things are based upon NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, and what they do to help keep us safe. So we work in Montgomery County, we work very closely with our partners from NFPA. The next thing over is the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission. They're actually based here in Montgomery County. They have their offices down in Bethesda, and they have laboratories in Rockville. We work with them because sometimes devices that we have in our homes have a problem, and this Consumer Product Safety Commission, or CPSC, may do a recall of those or a warning about certain devices. Down in the bottom left-hand side, you see Nist, the National Institutes of Standards and Technology. They're located in Gaithersburg. Nist has a whole fire safety section where they're constantly trying to find out what the next threats for fires are going to be and what we can do to prevent those fires. And they work closely with the Fire Safety Research Institute that you see in that big circle on the right-hand side of the screen, which is part of Underwriters Laboratories. Underwriters Laboratories is based in Chicago. And what Underwriters Laboratories does is any kind of an electronic device, like this lamp that I have here, or that TV set, or my laptop, or almost any kind of a device, my washing machine, my refrigerator, they have a little UL symbol on it. And that UL symbol, and I'm going to show you guys over here, the letters UL, Underwriters Laboratories, means that this particular device has been tested by Underwriters Laboratories to do the things that the manufacturer says it's supposed to do. So let me give you an example. This morning, when I was coming here, before I came here, I had breakfast, and I had a bagel. And I pulled it out of my freezer, and I put it into my little toaster oven. And I took my toaster oven and I turned it up to 350 degrees for 6 minutes. That's what I wanted to do to toast my bagel. I wanted 350 degrees for 6 minutes. How do I really know when I put something in there and I turn one dial and it says 350 and I turn another dial and it says 6 minutes, that that's really going to happen that way? How do I know that it's not going to be a problem where it's going to go to 1,000 degrees for 20 minutes? Because that could start a fire. Well, Underwriters Laboratories took several of those devices and they checked to make sure that it would work according to the manufacturer's specifications and instructions. So Underwriters Laboratories, all the work that they do, if you think about it, the stuff that they're testing, a lot of it can start fires. So Underwriters Laboratory has a very, very active fire safety research institute. And again, these are some of our best partners out there where we're constantly working with these people and learning what we can do to prevent fires from occurring. Now, there's a video here, which unfortunately we're not going to be able to watch. We've had some technical issues with getting this video. But what this was, the fire chief that you're seeing in this picture, he is talking in this video about how what their fire department has learned over the years from Underwriters Laboratories and Nist and these other organizations, how they're applying those things to firefighting tactics and firefighting techniques. It's incredible the difference that we can make when we have learned things. So in that video, what he talks about is that basically almost everything can burn. At some point in time, if there was a fire in this room, the room is going to start heating up and things are going to start off-gassing, and those gases can actually burn and explode. Things burn faster and hotter today than they did 30 years ago. 30 or 40 years ago, most of the furnishings that we had in our home were filled with cotton. maybe 50 years ago. Chairs and sofas, the cushions were mostly made out of cotton. We've transitioned, and either they're foam rubber, and rubber, if you think about it, if you've ever seen rubber burning, it burns very hot and puts out a lot of very, very thick, heavy smoke, or synthetic materials with a lot of plastics and things like that, which can be extremely dangerous when they burn. What all that translates to is we have less time to get outside and to get to a safe location. Less time now than we did 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. So our reaction needs to be faster than it had been previously. And less than 3 minutes after a smoke alarm sounds, it might be too late to exit safely. 3 minutes. That's not a lot of time. So that speaks to the importance of having working smoke alarms in our home. I'm going to push this button. It's going to be loud, but we need to hear what this thing sounds like. It's going to make... Don't do it. Well, it will work, I promise.
Oh,
Fire.
Now it's going to make 4 beeps.
Warning, carbon monoxide.
4 beeps. So what I have just demonstrated is a working smoke and carbon monoxide alarm. And this one is a really good alarm because not only does it make beeps, but it also tells you what the problem is. When my microwave oven finishes cooking, what does it do? Beep, beep, beep. It doesn't say your food's done. It just makes beeps. Because there's so many things in our homes that beep. If I don't close my refrigerator or my freezer all the way, you know what my refrigerator or freezer does? It beeps. What does my alarm clock do? It beeps. What does my cell phone do? It beeps. So smarter technology is technology that will tell us in real words what the problem is. Fire, or warning, carbon monoxide. If you have a choice, try to get an alarm that talks. It makes you safer because it makes you smarter because the devices are smarter. I'm not going to get into these, but there's a lot more examples out there of scientific-based firefighting updates and things like that. Now, I do want to try to get to this video if we possibly can. And Eleanor, I'm gonna ask you to kind of help me out with this for just a moment. Folks, this is of all the videos that you're going to see today, I think this one is probably the most important one. Downloads. We're going to look for close before you doze. I mentioned already. The importance of having working smoke alarms in our homes, but I did not mention the importance. Eleanor, you there?
Hey, Jim, can you set it up like the video that you showed of the gentleman in his house on the Nest camera?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do right now. And just bear with me for a second and I'll see if I thought I had it somewhere in my downloads. So give me 1 second on this.
Okay, that's the best bet.
And there's a lot of stuff in my computer. Image. If not, do you have control over what's on my screen, Eleanor? Eleanor's out there somewhere.
I do not have control over your screen.
Gotcha. All right, what I am going to do then is, wow, there's a lot of stuff on my computer. You know what? Remember I was talking about having a neat home? I need to clean up my computer. I'm sure if there was an IT person who's watching this right now, they're going to lose their minds over what I've got going on here. So here's what I'm going to do instead. Eleanor, I am going to go to another video. I'm going to YouTube right now. And my question for you, Eleanor, is if I call up this video right now, are you going to be able to see and hear this?
Sure, if you can pull it up just like the PowerPoint or the other video, we should be able to add it to the stream.
Sure. Hold on one second. Let me do this. And I appreciate everyone's indulgence as we do this. So let me do a share. Do share screen. Share screen. Ha! I love it. All right, in just a moment. Wow. Did you see that? That was not what I was expecting. Bear with me for one more moment. Actually, I'm going to make this go away. So, Eleanor?
Yep.
Here's what I'm going to do to make this work for right now. I'm going to change my camera angle so you guys can see behind me the TV here.
Okay.
And I'm going to just go to...
Or if you could give me the name of the video on YouTube, I could try to do it from here too.
Yeah, okay. If you go to YouTube and type in the words "close before you doze" in the search bar at the top. And when you do that, let me know when you get there.
Mm-hmm.
When you get there, it's usually the second video down. It's a 5 minute and 45 second video.
Yep. See the dramatic difference a door can make?
Yep. So do you just want to show that on your screen?
Yep, that's what I'm going to do.
Beautiful. Thank you. She's awesome. We are blessed to have someone like Eleanor working in our corner. While she is doing that, I'll just explain on this slide. This is showing some of the significant fires that we've had so far during the current fiscal year, fiscal 2022. If you could make that full screen towards the, no, actually, I guess that is, and just go ahead and hit the play.
Oh my God, that is insane.
In the event of a fire, who here thinks that you're safer sleeping with the doors open?
I keep them open because I was a mom for so long.
My kid's room is 2 doors down from mine.
Always open.
I'm not all that confident they would stop anything anyway. Harold, hey. Ben, nice to meet you.
Harold, have a seat.
Okay.
Hi, nice to meet you guys.
Hello. I'm right here.
Chris, how are you?
Great.
As you think about fire safety, what keeps you up at night?
Yeah, I'm not too concerned.
I probably don't think about a fire threat as much as I should because I do forget to turn things off often.
Have you ever been through one?
A fire? No.
We told you that you'd be coming here today for discussion But what we didn't tell you is that there is also a demonstration that we want to show you. Sound good? I want to introduce you to Steve, the director of the UL Firefighter Safety Research Institute. I'll let Steve take it away.
Welcome. My job is to lead a team of people that study how fire grows and spreads so we can keep you safe. Here at the Delaware County Emergency Services Training Center, we essentially turn this place into a laboratory. We've got several structures around here that we build to simulate where you live. And one of those structures is right here behind me. What I want you to do is I want to take you inside here, and I want you to see how this looks like your home. And then once we get you outside, we're going to go ahead and recreate what would happen if there was a fire in this structure right here. Look pretty normal? Yeah, got some furnishings. You'll notice the difference down here as we walk down. This bedroom door will be closed, and the one at the end of the hall will be open. And what I want you to do is pay attention to the comparison of the two of those and think about you and your family trying to survive this fire. All right, we just hit the button. We have ignition.
So they've dropped a candle on that couch in the living room.
Oh boy, there she goes. Oh man, that is scary. It's scary, right?
Look, we have smoke coming out over here already.
Smoke's coming out. What a lot of people don't realize is that the furnishings that are in our homes today are made of synthetic materials. So they burn so much faster than your old natural cotton-filled furnishings used to be. The statistics that we've seen through our research is in about 40 years ago, you had about 17 minutes to get out of your house after the smoke alarm sounded. Now you have less than 3 minutes.
Holy crap. See, this is the things that we were. Oh my God. Whoa. Can you feel that? How can you survive that? Seriously, that is insane.
All right, go ahead, knock it down. All right, as you remember, closed door on the left, open door on the right. And you can see the dramatic difference between the two with the simple closed door. Impressive. We want people to be as prepared as possible and understand the importance and how little time you have and what that simple barrier can provide to you and your family should you have a fire. I want you guys to throw some hard hats on and some safety glasses and at least poke your heads in the windows, or you can even walk in the hallway if you want.
Give me a word or phrase to describe what you just saw.
Anxiety.
Frightening.
Terrifying.
I really didn't expect anything like this.
I'll ask you one last time. In the event of a fire, are you safer sleeping with the doors open or the doors closed?
Without a doubt, the door closed.
Definitely with the doors closed, and from now on, the doors will be shut at night.
Definitely closed.
Closed.
Definitely closed. And I'm surprised by it.
It's always great to be able to get the message out when we can take our research and get it out into the community to change behavior with the message of close before you doze. It feels great, and hopefully we can save lives.
If there was one bit of advice that you could give friends or family today, what would it be?
Close before you doze.
Close before you doze.
Close before you doze. Close before you doze.
Close before you doze. The key fire safety messages we want people to have are, one, have working smoke alarms in every level of your home, inside and outside every sleeping room. We want everybody to have an escape plan. Should you have a fire, you should know how to get out quickly. And if you can't get out quickly, having a closed door between you and where that fire is critical to your survival.
Eleanor, thank you. You can end that video. Thank you so much. And I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. A simple bedroom door, just like the same door that you have in your home. When you go into your room and close that door, that's all that they had in those videos. That was not a heavy fire door like what we have here at the Holiday Park Senior Center. A simple closed door provided 10 or 15, maybe as many as 20 minutes of additional protection. Now, what else did he say? Not just have that door closed, but he said to have working smoke alarms. And we'll go through a little bit more about those working smoke alarms in a moment. So as I said, we do a lot of research, and you see on the map all those little dots there. That shows where significant fires have occurred in Montgomery County, Maryland during this fiscal year, which is October, I think, is our fiscal year. So from October until May, there's fires all over this county. If you look at the bigger map, which is a greater area, this is again just during this past year, the number of significant fires that we've had, including, sadly enough, a number of fatal fires. Last year, we had 5 fire fatalities in Montgomery County. And some people say, but we have like 1.2 million people, and that's only 5 fire deaths. My first thought is that's too many for any population at all. But then I'll say it wasn't just 5 people that died in fires in Montgomery County. It was 5 people who were 65 years old or older that died. So the population in Montgomery County of people over 65 years old is about 160,000 people. So it went from being 5 out of 1.2 million to now it's 5 out of 160,000. And there's a lot of other things about these fires, and you see going year by year, the number of fires that we have that take up the whole county, that there's a number of things that are very, very disturbing and lessons for all of us. And we're going to get into some of these lessons in a moment. Knowing where and why fires have occurred can help us, the fire department, help keep you safe. So by researching these fires, and we spend a lot of time and effort researching these fires, we can take the data and turn the data into knowledge, and that knowledge gives us action. So the actions are we're concentrating our efforts to make sure that the people who are most at risk of these fires are getting the information that they need. One of the tools that we're using is this thing called CRAIG, C-R-A-I-G. The CRA part is the Community Risk Assessment. So this is from the National Fire Protection Association. The CRA is the Community Risk Assessment. And what this tool does, it's a data tool that allows us to find out a lot of things about the communities that we're serving. Understanding the challenges faced by those in our community can help us better assist the people that we, the fire department, serve. Vulnerability comes in many forms. Economic vulnerabilities, health vulnerabilities, educational, social, and environmental vulnerabilities. What happens in this CRAIG program is we're able to break it down into data and maps and let us see some very, very important things. So what we're about to see, the next map that we're going to see, shows the social vulnerability index within Montgomery County. It says within the state, but we're going to nail it down to Montgomery County. And this represents the relative housing and transportation social vulnerability in a particular census tract, which is a small area within the county. Basically, the darker the color, the more significant the problems are. So looking at this map, where do we see that there's folks with these types of vulnerabilities? Well, we see kind of along the 270 corridor, up towards Germantown and Gaithersburg, to the east side of Rockville, Aspen Hill area, over towards the east side of the county along Route 29. And there's one here just above the word hill in Aspen Hill, which is a particularly darker area with these social vulnerabilities. That place is Leisure World, okay? For my efforts for senior fire safety, that's my number one target area, because we have such a concentration of older adults, but there's vulnerabilities mixed into that. It's a great community. It's a wonderful community, but there's challenges within that community. So we take a look at other things. This one is the built environment, looking at the age of homes. And again, the darker the color, the more significant the issues. So places that you wouldn't expect to see necessarily the older homes, but like up in the top of the county, like towards the Damascus area, the housing stock in that area is much, much older. Of those 5 fires that killed Montgomery County residents last year, all of whom were 65 years old or older, the homes that they were in, that the homes that they died in, were all built on or before the 1960s. That tells us a lot. So think about your home. Think about the place that you call home. What kind of a living environment is there? And older homes tend to be more problematic when it comes to these fires for a lot of reasons, and we'll get into those more in just a moment. So our fire safety data lesson number 2 is trying to use that data on a local, a more granular level. We're trying not to just look and say the whole county has a problem, but what communities and for what needs. And that's where, like Sam, with the work that you've done with your community, reaching out to the Cambodian community and working on them because of a specific identified issues that we've seen there, that makes those folks so much safer, which makes our whole community safer. This is a spreadsheet which is kind of hard to see, but what this spreadsheet is something that I've put together in working with our fire investigators. The fire investigators are fire marshals, but their job, unfortunately, is not so much to prevent fires, but to investigate fires. Any kind of a major fire where a house is burned down or something like that, and specifically anytime someone is injured or dies in a fire, that's what our fire investigators do. So we see that our first fire in calendar year 2021 happened in February of 2021 on Darnestown Road. It was a Cape Cod that was built in 1945. It was owned by the person there. In addition to, she was the only person who died. She was 72 years old. In addition to her, there were 2 dogs that died in this home. There were 4 other dogs in the home that survived. It was a malfunction in an electrical device. And there's more information the further on you go down. We looked at things like education level of the occupants. We looked at how long had they lived in that home. Were they primarily an English speaker? I think I said, what level of education did they have? As many of these possible vulnerabilities to try to nail down what we can do to prevent that next fire from occurring. So that's part of how we're using this data on a granular level. And we're trying to do that deep dive of data for every one of these terrible fatal fires. Next lesson kind of is about the use of technology. Montgomery County 911, the 911 center, it uses technology every day. Right now, they're putting out they're dispatching hundreds of emergency calls throughout the county. If I turned up my phone and disturbed us right now, you would hear my phone because I'm hooked into the radio dispatch system, constantly putting out calls. A few things about the 911 system. Number 1 is for people that are deaf, and that's another vulnerable population that we have, people who can't hear at all. How do they call 911 and how do they hear someone saying, "What's your emergency?" Well, there has been in the past something called TTY, which is where they have a little keyboard and they could communicate that way. But if their house is on fire and we want them to get out of the house, they don't have that keyboard with them. I'm happy to say that Maryland, not just Montgomery County, but the whole state of Maryland switched over to allow text to 911. So off of my cell phone, the same way I can send a text to Sam and say, "How are you, Sam?" or whatever, I can send a text to 911 and I can report an emergency, whether it's a car crash or someone's having chest pains or there's a fire. I can do that by contacting 911 through text. And that's true in Montgomery County, in Prince George's County, Frederick County, Howard County, throughout the entire state of Maryland. Other jurisdictions throughout the country do have text to 911, but Montgomery County, not Montgomery County, Maryland is one of the first states in the country to have the entire state have text to 911. So that's an important update and use of technology. Also, I talk in here about something called premise notes. I was just at a home doing a home safety evaluation last week for a man who is bedridden. He has significant medical issues. He cannot get out of bed. Now, between his wife and family members, he kind of has 24-hour caregivers there, but his wife would have a really hard time picking him up, carrying him, dragging him out of the home if there was a fire. So we want to make sure, number one, that they have working smoke alarms all over the home, and that's what I spent some time doing, making sure that they had working smoke alarms in the right places. We went through the importance of having him sleep behind a closed door and how important that is. And we also went through and wrote up premise notes so that if there is a 911 call from that home, the firefighters, the police officers, everybody who responds will know that in a certain part of that home, there is a bedridden individual. So we can focus our rescue efforts on that. And we periodically, obviously, have to update those premise notes, but that's another way that we're using technology to help keep people safe. We use technology to make sure that the firefighters, that the gear that we're wearing is very, very safe. What you see in this on the lower right-hand side, that yellow thing is our portable radio, our walkie-talkie, which is how we communicate. So we get instructions from the chief as to where to go to perform certain actions within this fire. Also to report back what our findings are. Have we found someone when we've done a search and the like? The picture above that is the breathing air pack that we have on our back, which is vital because, as I mentioned, when there's a fire, the air is very, very poisonous, and firefighters would be overcome and would die as a result of breathing in the toxic gases in a structure that's on fire. So we've updated the kind of breathing apparatus that we use in order to help keep us safe. That slide in the middle that shows a picture of a firefighter sitting there, what that firefighter was part of was a whole study to find out how firefighters wearing their gear were able to stay safe in a vehicle. When you guys leave here today and you get into your car, what's the first thing you're going to do before you start moving? Put on your seatbelts? Firefighters in all of that big gear, we also need to wear seatbelts. So this firefighter is a Montgomery County firefighter that was part of a national study to figure out what we can do so that when we're responding to a call and we're wearing all that gear, how the seatbelt and other things will help to keep us safe. Because unfortunately, we've had over the years many, many firefighters who have been seriously injured or died because they were not properly restrained as we're responding to calls. And then on the left-hand side of the screen there, you're seeing some pictures of a thermal imager and an actual visual of a thermal imager. A thermal imager is a handheld camera that a firefighter can use. So while we're crawling through the home, we're going to use this camera, and it allows us basically to see through the smoke and to look for images of temperature differentials. And what I'll find is if there's a room that's on fire, the person in that room, their temperature is actually cooler than the stuff in the room that's on fire. So I see the differential there. And it's kind of hard to see on this screen right now, but what you're seeing here is an image of a firefighter. This is a firefighter that's standing up, and he has found another firefighter, this is in a drill, who is laying on a bed. So you see their images there and the temperature of those folks is different than other people. Now, in this particular case, it's 53 degrees Fahrenheit. This is not during a real fire, okay? This is during a training exercise, but it demonstrates how we're able to use this great technology to help us do our jobs better. So let's put this all together. What does this mean to you? The first thing is that fire prevention is paramount. The number one cause of fires in people's homes in Montgomery County, in the state of Maryland, throughout the United States, and in fact, throughout the whole country and probably throughout the whole world is unattended cooking. I put something on the stove, I put something in the oven, I put something in the microwave or a toaster oven or anything like that, and then I forget about it. Why did I forget about it? Well, my phone rang and it's someone I wanted to talk to. So I go into the living room and I sit down and I'm talking to them. In the meantime, whatever is cooking is still cooking. Or I'm put something in on the stovetop to cook it and the doorbell rings and it's a friend of mine who I haven't seen for a while. So I start chatting with them. Or I put something on the stove and then I got to go to the bathroom. All right, so I leave the kitchen. Whatever the reason is, what we can do, every one of us can do to prevent that kind of a fire is, if you're cooking something, stay with it. And if you have to leave, shut it off. You can always come back in and turn it on again afterward. But prepare to spend some time in the kitchen. Here's what I do. If I'm going to be cooking something, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and this is actually what I do in real life. Before I do that, I go to the bathroom. Jim, really? Yeah. By going to the bathroom before I'm cooking, it means I'm not going to have to leave in the middle of when I'm cooking. The second thing is, what do I do before I leave the bathroom? Wash my hands. Is that important? Yeah. So do the right thing. I make sure I've got my phone with me. I make sure, depending on what I'm cooking, I'm going to bring a book or the newspaper or something like that with me. So I'm going to stay in the kitchen and pay attention to it, because all it takes is a very, very brief time leaving the kitchen, and that's where fires can occur. Candles. Remember that video that we saw in the beginning of this presentation? Candles are extraordinarily dangerous. Any kind of an open flame is very, very dangerous. We recommend you not have any candles in your home at all, or if you do have candles, here's the kind that I like. Little electric candles, these flameless candles. You can buy them at CVS or the hardware store or whatever like that. They look real. They look so real that my neighbors across the street, and this is a true story, about 2 years ago, I looked out of my house one evening and I'm like, oh no, they've got candles in that front window right by the curtain. And so I went running across the street, and it was one of these little flameless electric candles that they had in their window. Yes, it was right near the curtains, but it's not going to catch on fire because it's not a real candle, but it looks that realistic. So those are fine. Real candles can be extremely dangerous. Be careful if you do have candles around, of combustible items around there. We've had situations, and I'm not making this up, where pets, a dog, a cat, whatever, has knocked over a candle or has pushed a candle, and that's what started the fire. Or the candle burns down, then the wax starts burning, and that causes a problem. So candles need to be treated so carefully. Electrical issues. A real big cause of fires that we see in Montgomery County and everywhere else are these surge protectors. If I live in an older house, and remember I was talking about where the 5 fatal fires occurred were all in older homes, chances are that home does not have enough electrical outlets for all the things that I need to plug in. When they built those homes in the 1930s, the 1940s, the 1950s, whenever, they never dreamed we'd have as many things to plug in as we do. So most of those homes don't have enough electrical outlets. So people go, I've got an answer. I'm going to go get one of these. And they plug this into the wall. And this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 outlets. But I've got more stuff that I got to plug in than 6 things. So once they've plugged this in, they then take another surge protector, plug it into here, and that's called a daisy chain. We're now really starting to overload that electrical outlet, and that can cause problems. It can cause fires. If you find that you need more electricity outlets in a room, call an electrician. Have the job done right. Have a professional electrician add another outlet over here if there's the capacity, or change the layout of the room. Maybe I don't need to have 10 things plugged in here. Maybe I can have 2 things plugged in here, 2 things plugged in there, 2 there, and 2 there, something like that. There may be other ways to do it. We also want to make sure we never have items that are too big plugged into here, like a surge protector or a refrigerator, not a surge protector, a space heater or a refrigerator or something that has a big draw on electricity. Also, something that most people don't realize is surge protectors have a lifespan. If you read the owner's manual for this when you first got it, most of these things say this surge protector is warranted or whatever for 5 years. Take a look at this. See the discoloration on this? You think this is more than 5 years old? It should be taken out of service. They need to be looked at periodically. If there's cracks here, that can expose the rest of this to moisture, to other problems. So keep an eye on your electrical devices in your home. And smoking, okay? We wish that people wouldn't smoke. At least one of the fatal fires last year was directly as a result of improperly discarded smoking materials. People smoke and they throw the cigarette butts into an area which can start a fire, or they drop their matches into an area which could start the fire. We wish people wouldn't smoke, but if they smoke, smoke safely, which means you're discarding any of your smoking materials into a solid, like metal container that's full of water. And that way the things go out. Also, one other note about smoking, if there's medical oxygen around, never, ever, ever, ever smoke around oxygen. Oxygen itself does not burn, but oxygen, an oxygen-rich environment, if it does start burning, is going to burn faster and hotter. So that's that. Finally, fire safety is imperative. Make sure you got working smoke alarms. And how do I know that they work?
Press the button.
Push the button, okay? Don't burn your food. Push the test button. I don't want you guys climbing up on ladders or chairs to test the button. What you can do is from a standing position on the ground, you can use a yardstick or a broom handle or a cane or an umbrella or something like that to reach up and push that button. Okay, make sure you've got working smoke alarms. All of our smoke and carbon monoxide alarms should be less than 10 years old. Have a fire escape plan that you have practiced. A plan that you have practiced. So tonight, this afternoon, when you get home, lay down in bed for a minute and then go, okay, so I'm asleep. My door is closed. Beep, beep, beep. Okay, smoke alarm just woke me up. What do I do? Where do I go? Let me practice that. I'm going to reach over. I'm going to turn on a light so I can see where I'm going. Now that I've turned on the light, I'm going to come over to my bedroom door, which hopefully is closed. I love that. Feel the door, touch the door, see if the door is hot. If the door is not hot, then go ahead and open the door, see what's going on outside. And when you leave the bedroom, shut the door behind you. Leave the house however you would leave the house so that you go to the front yard, and that's where you would call 911 once you're outside. But what if you forgot your phone? Should you go back in and get it? No, get out and stay out. Get out and stay out. And then if I forgot my phone, I'm going to go bang on my neighbor's door and tell them to call 911 or a passing car or whatever it is. Does that all make sense? Practice a fire escape plan. Sleep with your bedroom door closed at night. A little bit more about cooking. You see in the picture that I've got here on the screen that the temperature of an electric coiled burner can actually get hotter than the flame from a gas stove. People think because I've got an electric stove, I'm safer. But when that thing gets to be glowing red, it can be between 1,472 degrees Fahrenheit up to 1,652. And as you see, aluminum melts at 1221 degrees. So you can actually melt aluminum onto your stove. That's how hot it can be. You need to be extremely careful about this. So in the US, how many cooking fires do you think there are per year? Anyone here want to hazard a guess? This is the whole country. Every year, how many cooking fires? Anyone? Come on. A lot. You think 5,000? You think 50,000? You think 500,000? How about more than 500,000 cooking fires per year in the United States? How many cooking fires per day, and what are I'll ask you the easier question. What are the two top days for cooking fires in the United States? Thanksgiving and Christmas. Okay. A lot of people are cooking at home. There's a lot of distractions. There's family, the phone's ringing, they're setting the table at the same time, they're putting up other decorations, all of those reasons. Cooking fires cost 550. Oh, I'm sorry, and I was wrong with the number before. It's 172,900 home structure fires per year started by cooking activities. I thought it was closer to 500,000, but that's still a lot. That's an average of 470 fires, cooking fires per day. They cost 550 civilian deaths, almost 5,000 civilian injuries, and more than $1 billion in damage from cooking fires. Ranges or stovetops are the number one cause of cooking fires. 87% of the cooking fire deaths and 78% of the injuries are because of stovetop, not ovens. Households that have electric ranges have a higher risk of cooking fires than those with gas ranges. Unattended cooking is the leading cause of fires, and more than 25% of the people involved with cooking fires were asleep. So they started cooking something and they were tired and they laid down and went to sleep. That's a big deal. Candles, we already spoke about before. Electrical problems, we want to not have overloaded electrical outlets. Never put an electric cord underneath a rug or a carpet like it shows there in the middle. And you want to periodically inspect your electrical cords to make sure they're not frayed, like the picture on the right-hand side there. As I said, smoking irresponsibly and improperly discarding smoking materials are huge problems. Never smoke around medical oxygen. Last but not least, for people in Montgomery County, and this has nothing to do with fires, this has to do with medical emergencies because the fire department responds to lots of medical emergencies. You want to make sure that you have a filled out and up-to-date file of life. What this is, this beautiful red magnetic holder, this black strip on the back is a magnet, so it will stick to my refrigerator or metal. Trust me, if that was metal, was not painted, it would stick to it. But more important than this plastic holder is the form that's on the inside. The form is a front and back form, which has the medical information that I need, or the paramedics and the hospital would need. Information like my name, my address, my date of birth, my primary language, my doctor's name and phone number, if I have any medical conditions, Do I have any allergies to any medications? On the back here, what medications do I take? Emergency contacts, insurance information, and any healthcare decisions like do not resuscitate orders and things like that. For those of you who are here with us today, if you want or need one of these, I'm happy to give it to you as long as you fill it out. It doesn't do any good unless it's filled out. For those who are watching on YouTube, and again, thank you to AARP for broadcasting this live. In Montgomery County, you can call 311, or you can go to our website, which is shown there, which is mcfrs.org/mcsafe. That's what I've got for now. Eleanor, I don't know if you have any way to get any questions from the field. And for those of us who are here in the room, actually, I'll ask, can we turn the lights back on? And Eleanor, do we have any questions? What if you have a pet and you can't leave behind? So great question that I got from the field. Okay. And thank you for asking that. So I'll start by saying firefighters care about all living creatures. We do. Okay. We start with the ones with 2 legs. As soon as they are accounted for and we know that they're safe, then we move on to the ones with 4 legs. Now, beyond 4 legs, I'll say I don't quite care as much. So if you got centipedes in your house, I'm sorry, but if they were to perish during a fire, that's kind of okay. But dogs, cats, and the like. The example that I'll give you is this. For anyone who has flown on an airplane, okay, what do they tell you to do if there's a sudden loss of cabin air pressure and the oxygen masks drop down? And there's someone sitting next to me that needs help. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to put the mask on them first or on me first? Put it on yourself first, okay? The reason being, if I'm not okay, then I can't do anything for this person here. So take care of yourself first. The same is true for pets who might not be able to get out from a fire. If they're not interested in coming out, there's smoke, there's fire, the smoke alarms are making noise, there's all this confusion, and they go hide under a bed. My answer is I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to get out, just like I've told you guys to do before. As soon as I'm outside, I'm going to call 911. And when I call 911, after I give the address and I say that there's a fire in my house, I'm going to tell them the human beings are outside and are okay, but there's 1 dog, 2 cats, 3 ferrets, whatever in the house. And this is where I think they are in the house. The cat might be in the living room. The dog might be in the bedroom or anything else like that. The firefighters who respond need to know that information. We are going to do everything we can do to rescue every living creature in that home. That's part of our priorities. So I hope that answers the question that came from the field. Eleanor, if there's other questions, please put them in the chat. I'll look for them. And for those of us here in the room, any questions, any comments? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we talked about if the door is hot, don't open it.
What next? What if the door is hot? Thank you for asking that question. The question that came from the room here was, I talked about the plan for getting out where smoke alarm goes off. I turn on a light so I can see what I'm doing. I come over to my door and I feel the door. And I said, if the door is not hot, to proceed out there and to get out of the house, closing my door on the way out. But what if the door is hot to the touch? Well, getting out is what I call plan A. Plan A is the best plan. Plan B, if I go to the door and the door is hot to the touch, or let's say the door is not hot, but I open the door and I'm greeted with significant amount of smoke or heat or fire, or maybe when I first open my door and go outside the door, things aren't too bad. But in the couple of moments that it's going to take for me to leave my bedroom, maybe go down the stairs to get out, conditions can change that quickly. If I can't get out, then get behind at least one closed door. That's my safety area, like we saw in that close before you doze video. Now that I'm behind that closed door, I'm calling 911. Hi, my address is such and such. There's a fire somewhere here in my house and I can't get out, and I'm in the second bedroom, the master bedroom, the bedroom that's in the right side of the upstairs, the left side. My bedroom's over the garage. Describe where you are. That information is relayed to the first arriving firefighters, and their job just changed. Their job is not to put the fire out. Their job is to rescue me. So that's plan B. You know what I haven't talked about yet? Plan C. What's plan C? Going out the window. Okay? Going out the window for some of us is not a great option. If I live on the second floor, the third floor, the fourth floor, going out that window is a real problem because of gravity. Okay? Gravity is not our friend. All right? That's why I'm going to fall back and say the importance of working smoke alarms, the importance of having a plan to get out right away. Not let me think about what's going on, but have that plan to get out right away, to sleeping with the bedroom doors closed and so on. If you're in a situation and you say, I have no choice. If I don't go out this window, I am going to die. Then a few more things to think about. And this is again for plan C. Number one, keep the door closed. The next thing is this: be strategic. The way I'll describe it is this strategy. At my house, from my bedroom, I have two windows. There's a window there and there's a window there. If I were to go out that window, it's about 15 feet down to a concrete driveway. If I go out of that window, it's about 7 or 8 feet to some bushes. It doesn't take a genius to go, that sounds a whole lot better than that. Okay? So right away, I'm being strategic by saying that way is not as safe as going out that way. The next thing is this: don't break the windows. In the movies, they pick up a chair and they smash out the windows. I've seen people who have survived the fire. They have survived jumping from the fire, but they died from blood loss because they jumped into the glass that they had just smashed out. And the glass skewered these poor people and killed them. Okay? Broken glass is a huge problem. Okay? So window screens, I don't care about. That's not going to maim someone. But the glass is a problem. So today is a beautiful day. When you go home, open your windows, exercise your windows. We don't want a window that's not going to open in the event of an emergency. And the last thing I'll say is, God forbid you're saying, I've got to go out this window. Before you jump, scream for help, because maybe the first fire truck pulled up, they have a ladder, or there's a neighbor or a contractor or someone else with a ladder. Maybe you don't have to jump. But let's go back. Fire prevention, all those things about candles and cooking and electrical and everything else like that. Make sure that we've got working smoke alarms. Make sure we've got a plan. It was a long answer to a short question, but did that make sense?
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Any other questions from the field? Eleanor? And if not, we've been going at this for about an hour and 20 minutes, which is a pretty good stretch. You guys have been a wonderful audience. I thank you all. For anyone who's online on YouTube Live, thank you for joining us and spending some time with us. I hope this was beneficial, and have a great day. Stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And it says James, but I go by Jim. Hold on one second. Eleanor, what do I do to make this go away?